Good morning, everyone. It's just me alone today in the recording booth. Apparently, we're dealing with a lot of other issues that people will have to deal with when their daily lives are distracting folk from being able to be a part of what we're doing here today. And it's a normal thing. I want you all to understand that if you don't see some of the people in our group, they're not forgotten. They're not gone away and never to return. Except for a few people who have decided that they have learned enough of what they want to do with their lives that they have moved on from the teachings that we have here. So, with that in mind, for those of you who are here to learn about the difference between astral projection and mental projection, I would have to refer you to, and you're going to have to forgive me on this one, to a movie series called Insidious. Now, it's not the only one of its type that actually shows the dangers of astrally projecting, but it is the one that makes the most stark understanding of what you're doing to anybody who watches it. And though it seems like a horror film, there is actually a lot, and you can look this up on the internet because they now pretty much put everything there that you could ask for about possessions because someone has astrally projected. It's not exactly the same as if someone were to be assaulted by something that really wanted to get into them and figured out how to be able to either squeeze in next to that other person's soul, which can happen. This is literally someone hijacking your meat. This is Grand Theft Auto body version. You know, I want to go somewhere. Get out, Grandma. And now you've got Satan at the wheel. And that's not exactly what you want to have happen with your body because, let's face it, this is a suit that you were given. This is a space suit. I know. Bear with me. This is a space suit. You're born with it, and it's for traveling through this space. And within it, you have another suit, which is an astral suit. And it's designed to be protected by the meat suit. As long as it's inside the meat suit, everything's cool. Then is you. Then comes the kernel of what you are, your soul, as it were. One of the things that in our society we have for some reason lost track of is that we have a body, we are a soul. Because you've seen all of these shows where, oh, I sold my soul to the devil. You can't really sell your soul to the devil because that would mean that you're selling yourself. It's like, here, I want to be a slave forever because I want to. Because people think of themselves as the meat that they inhabit. That's not you. This, as Yoda said, luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. So you have to get into the right frame of mind so that you understand why I say astral projection may seem cool, but it is dangerous. Please don't do it. Let me show you this alternative. Because once you're outside of your body, there's nothing that will stop anything from getting into your body. And people say, oh, well, I do a couple of prayers. And yes, and I'm pretty sure you also do arm curls and hop steps at the same moment. And you like to do, what do they call them, military presses while in tap dancing shoes. It's useless. I mean that literally. There is only so much that you can do to keep out a very concerted effort while you're not around. If you leave your body in the protection of someone else, they may or may not actually notice because everything on the astral plane happens in the blink of an eye. And even those of us who can actually see things astrally and can see spirits can miss this stuff because it happens so quick. It happens so fast that you literally don't even know what's going on around you if something is running past or racing past at the highest speed possible. The speed of light is pretty close to how fast some of these things can move. Speed of thought even. You know, you think you're going somewhere, there you are. Pardon me while I have a sip of my coffee. I haven't eaten yet. I normally eat before we do the shows, but it was a little bit busy. So astral projection, which is literally you going to your second body, which is your astral body, and your spirit is piloting it out into the universe. And it can be pretty damn amazing. One of the first things you notice is that everything is alive. Those who believe in the animus principle, where everything has a spirit, etc., such as what the natives talk about. Yeah, it's true. But you can also kill things too, including the land, which is awfully sad. If you've ever seen how that turns very, I'm back in Kansas with Dorothy, black and whitish gray. For a great many people, the suddenly encountering the rainbow colors of Oz on the astral plane becomes alluring, and they can't not heed that clarion call. Now, Joel and I learned a long time ago that we could do it, but it was really dangerous and sometimes painful. Things that hit you when you are on the astral take a long time to heal, and it doesn't show up on your meat all the time. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you take a wound from an astral projection, come back to your body, and then that thing manifests itself like a stigmata. For those of you who don't know what stigmata are wounds that appear on folks who are of particularly devout faith to the Christian religion that seem to mimic the wounds in the hands, feet, and chest of Christ when he was crucified. I'm using this as an example, not as a matter of I'm pushing my faith in your face or anything like that. Okay, so please don't start whipping back at me. I'm much broader of mind than that. Okay, so just don't start asking me about Christian questions, etc. I'm just, once again, using that as an example. So we would get wounds, burns, boils, scrapes. Oh, those are my favorite, the scrapes. But the ones that were some of the worst were the deep tissue damage, where you could feel it all the way through your gut because something hit you real, real hard. Also, there's this myth of, oh, there's a silver cord and you tie it to your body and it lets you come. That actually requires practice to be able to do. And things that are going, oh, look, there's a cord here. It's completely untended. I wonder what would happen if I was to cut it. Let's cut it. They cut it. Okay, so that's why I stopped. Half the time you get so worried about what they're going to do to anything that you use as a countermeasure that you simply just don't bother with it anymore. Now, the first time that I actually learned about mental projection was far, far back, probably in the, I must have been 8 or 9. There was a movie on TV where they were talking about people who were trying to find ancient Atlantis. And one psychic would actually, and I don't know why he would do this since you really don't need to produce a body that was of this type, but he actually produced a mental projected body that would handle water easily. So essentially creating something that was like the creature from the Black Lagoon or something, so it could swim and go down to the bottom of the ocean in the Bermuda Triangle and take a look, which he went through a very excruciating and long process of envisioning and creating this body, which comes back to the idea of thought forms that Ginseng actually introduced us to, which makes a lot of sense. Thought forms actually answers and shortcuts a lot of description on certain things. Basically what he did was he created a thought form of a body and then inhabited it and took it exploring. And apparently he actually found some things which to this day we don't have the technology to be able to get down to again, which I don't even want to really discuss, because then people are going to go, oh my God, do you believe in the Atlantis? Like, no, I believe you found something at the bottom of the ocean. I don't know what it is. They were looking for Atlantis. They could have found, I don't know. So don't throw that one off on me. I'm a skeptic, even though I'm gifted. I don't believe absolutely every piece of schlock they put on TV. I just use some of this stuff as examples, so don't sue me. Don't just take it for the learning tools that it is, okay? Okay. So Joel and I discussed it at length. And by at length, I mean we actually discussed it over days and days about how it could be useful. But we didn't fully perfect it until we realized how dangerous it actually could become some years later. And then we realized there was no way on earth we were going to do the astral projections anymore. Not after all of the pain that we would go through if we encountered something. And oftentimes when we did it, we were doing it where it was dangerous. So of course we were going to encounter that sort of thing. And so we discussed it. I spoke with him about what I had learned. He looked into it. I think he did a little bit of reading, did a little bit of watching, and he and I came to a similar conclusion, but separately. And this was probably after I was 23 when we finally started working on this at full steam ahead. Mental projection requires first the creation of the thought form of a body that you're going to utilize in order to be able to get around. And this, depending on the situation, you're going to want it to be either faster or more agile than yourself, etc. And it also ties into your own nervous system. So what the projected body feels, you're going to feel as well. So don't think that it's going to be like wearing an armored suit. That's the reason why we still have the armor of light to protect the mental projection as well. It's extremely important to keep those two separate. Once you've created it and you've gone through the extensive process of thinking about what you want it to be able to do, etc., you're able to then climb into it. Now, the difference in what you see from astral projection as opposed to mental projection is sort of like it's astral projection, but wearing slightly hazy lenses. I haven't been able to figure out how to get around that to make it more perfect. It's not, and I don't mean to make you think that it's you know, like looking through a dirty window, but it's not quite as perfect. Your vision is not quite as perfect, and it's not quite as bright, especially when you're around living things. And some of the things don't actually filter into your head immediately. So something that comes close, instead of having its own shape projected onto you because it's literally contacting you with its aura, its appearance will come through as what it actually is if it's trying to change to look like something else. Things in the astral can change their appearance, but when you mentally project, their first appearance is usually as a sphere, and then if they try to enforce some kind of other appearance, they look like basically their first general appearance, that their first consciousness is of what they look like, whether in life or in death or what have you. And any attempt to try and pull the wool over your eyes and appear as something else usually doesn't work so well. It looks like somebody's projecting an image over an actual image, sort of like a suit that doesn't fit correctly. So Joel and I found that there was absolutely some basic improvements in mental projection that you would have to be very wary constantly while astrally projecting to get the same level of defense. So that was one automatic benefit. The other thing is that you don't take any injuries with you. Pain, however, yeah, especially if it's serious, the pain can come with you. Last year, when working on turning a mirror so that it would no longer be a portal for things that were evil, my arms were worked over horribly. It hurt so bad. It took 5 minutes and I was crying my eyes out because it hurt that bad. I can honestly tell you, I have never felt that level of pain in my arms ever. It felt like I had stuck them into a meat grinder and they were broken everywhere. I had to let them hang until the pain just simply drained out. But the alternative is I could have actually been paralyzed or not been able to use my arms again. So I admonish anybody who thinks that astral projection is still going to be so much cooler. You tell me once you no longer can use your arms or a leg or whatever, because this carries over. It definitely carries over directly into your brain and your psyche and your self-image. I know that there are people out there that can do things to fix and correct those issues, but where are you going to find them? How hard is it to find people of that type? And why wouldn't you want to just do the next step, which is to be more protected rather than less? You can do everything that you want to do through the mental projection with a little bit of practice. It will take a bit of time, being able to utilize tools, being able to see through things, to be able to move onto the metaplanes, that sort of thing. It is a little more difficult because you are going to be working through this projected medium. It's sort of like a drone. The best way to think about it is like those drones that people fly around with the cameras, except that you can feel the stuff, and of course better visuals than one silly little camera. But it's that kind of thing. And if something destroys that mental projection, you immediately snap back to your body. It's a little disconcerting and can leave your heart racing, but you're back, and you won't have to worry about going through shock or being left exposed and having your meat exposed to dangers of something deciding to take it out for a joyride because it sounds like a great afternoon. But to take you through the steps that Joel and I went through, the first step we went through was, once again, the thought form. Thinking about what we want it to look like. And in essence, it's essentially just the idealized self, which is what I prefer, the idealized self. Yourself with more agility, more strength, more muscle, less vulnerability. Then, of course, you could put the armor over that. But once again, that's a separate issue. So just keep the armor of light in mind. Your idealized self, younger, stronger, faster, etc. And of course, if you're going to take anything with you, be sure to make sure that you take that with you, your tools, and that they're on your mentally projected self. You have to take care with those now, because those are tools do lead back to the astral self, even if it's still in the body. So that can sometimes be a little dangerous, but it is part of the reason why you take the tool, so you have more easy time accomplishing things on the astral or the ethereal or the metaplanes. And because when those do ground out, they ground out against your soul. So be sure that you do everything you're supposed to do in order to maintain their safety and protection. We've already discussed that in previous videos. So go back to, I think it was last year, Tools of Our Trade 1 and 2. Since I don't have anybody to ask specific questions, you're going to have to forgive me. I know there's 2 people watching, but I don't know what they're curious about. And they keep themselves hidden, so that's interesting. So I have no idea who's watching, but hello to all in the room. I know they're there. I just don't know who's watching because they keep themselves private. In any case, once you've crafted the body, then you have to inhabit it, which is a simple matter of feeling yourself simply take over control of it. I know you're going to say, well, that can't be, it's more difficult. Well, you can envision yourself moving into it, but it's not really it's not an astral body. So essentially what you're doing is creating another body and simply just standing up with it, truthfully. And you can overlap it on your body, and your mind is simply just taking it over and going with it. It's usually the easiest way, since your body's going to emanate it and give it mass and form on the astral or ethereal or whatever on the other planes. And you simply just step right into it, so that there's no time where your mind is dancing across empty space where something can swat at you. And then you go from there. The other thing is that once you become more adept at doing it, you can have your mental projection simply step across space. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Stepping across space. It's almost like they say folding space, but not really. It's just fast stepping. And when Aisha asks me, well, what is Jemima doing? Well, you know, how does Sean get there? Well, Sean uses his mental projection and then just steps into Aisha's house. It's literally that simple. I don't know how to describe it other than it's almost like turning around and I'm in her home. And I'm there in her kitchen. And I want to give her a shout out. She has improved so much that the other day she was worried because she'd heard humming in her kitchen and she was cooking. She didn't tell me this. And She says, I worry that it's somebody coming after me. And I thought, okay, well, that would be weird. I don't know where she is. And then I said, well, there's somebody cooking in your kitchen, and I'm watching Jemima. She's singing and humming like an angel, by the way. And so that's what Aisha could hear. She was actually able to finally hear Jemima. That makes me very proud. So, firstly, because she's not only improving, but secondly, because Jemima sings like Lena Horne when she was young. Oh my God, if you don't know who Lena Horne is, please go and look it up on YouTube or some other channel and listen to Lena when she was singing when she was younger. Wow. That woman had pipes on her, and she could sing it all. It didn't make a difference what it was, from gospel to jazz to being on stage and singing opera. The woman had no limits. And Jemima's right up there. When she's singing because she's happy, you know, she's doing her happy thing in the kitchen. She's center stage, and that's what I was watching. And so I'm answering Aisha's text. Oh, it's just Jemima singing because somebody's in the kitchen cooking. And it was funny because Aisha's she's in New Orleans. Apparently she was cooking at like 10 or 11 at night. So I guess she was probably getting stuff ready for the following day, but I would have never known that. And when she said, I'm cooking, I kept thinking, why are you cooking at like 11 o'clock at night? I think she asked me, it was 9 here. So yeah, about 11, almost midnight. So at first I was kind of worried until I saw her performing. And this is one of those things where I truly wish that I could actually record astrally so that all of you could enjoy this, because Jemima, oh, she's a beautiful soul. She is beautiful. I would have sat there singing with her if I knew what the words were to the song that she was singing, but I don't. It was it's one of those ones where they extemporize. It was fantastic. Anyway, so that's one of the tricks that you can do once you finally are able to mentally project. It's like turning from one place to another, almost like turning the page of a book. Almost. It's similar. If you want to think of that as a way to do it, you can do that. I've heard of people actually thinking about the world being pages in a book, a picture book, where they simply just turn the page and hop onto that page like Gumby, and that's where they are. Probably, for the younger ones of you, you probably don't know who the hell Gumby is. I apologize. But once again, I do have to use metaphors that do apply that I know. You can always look it up. Nobody ever complained about watching Gumby and Pokey. So, so I'm going to wrap this up a little early. I know we haven't been going for very long, but I'm going to keep it short since nobody's asking questions. I'll come back to this later if we have any questions. If you have any questions, just let me know, and we will cover this again at a later date. As once again, if you like what you see here, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Tell your friends, share it. It does help. We're not leaving YouTube. We're going to be on multi-platforms, as I said. YouTube is mostly going to be where we store all of this stuff, and you can come back and listen to it, or you can go and listen to the better versions on VidMe. And I would like it if all of you who are subscribed here would go to www.vid.me and get a membership there and follow us there. We're going to be doing some special things there, as I've said before. We're going to be setting up subscriptions, so we'll send you items, things that Joel has crafted, especially things that can protect you, things that we can energize so that we can help reach you or reach the areas around you. And this is not even going to be expensive. I'm not going to be putting up a paywall where it's like, if you want to get all the special treatment, you got to pay $5. No, that's the reason why we abandoned the idea of Patreon for the most part, because people automatically assume that we're going to be demanding huge amounts of cash. We don't. In fact, you never have to subscribe to VidMe. It's not a subscription requirement. If you subscribe, we give you extra benefits, and we're going to be setting up exactly what those benefits are going to be. And it's crafted items, special teaching, stuff that's going to be off air, special times where we get together. I'm going to be finding out how we can actually do either Skype instead of Hangouts, if you don't, so that you don't have to worry about recordings, that kind of thing. But please go to www.vid.me and create your profile there and follow. It's a follow, not a subscribe. My channel, which is also Ian's Magic Oak there, okay? And you can also see all of our videos cut down and edited and added music. Pardon me, I need more coffee. So that you don't have to worry about the length of the video being sometimes a little bit too long, or all the dead space that used to happen while we're waiting for people to unmute themselves. I actually cut all that out. So hopefully this gives you guys some ideas on things that you want to discuss later, and we will discuss this more at length. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the low bar. If you are not getting any messages about when we are doing this sort of thing, please click that bell icon on YouTube. If you just follow me on VidMe, you'll automatically be told when we're going to be doing a video or when one gets put up, so you don't have to worry about that. There's less hoops to jump through. And hope to see you again. The next video will be on this Friday at, I believe, 10 a.m. So hope to see you then.